I started as an actor, and every time we'd have readings with actors for new parts, Marion Doherty, who was our casting director, would always say, "George, would you please read again with someone?" And then she would tell Dan, "Gee, George reads very well with these people." Well, I started as an actor, and I quit because all my buddies were skiing and going on vacations, and I was doing crapola theater for $70 a week, twice a day. So I answered an ad in the New York Times that said network executive. Major network executive, excuse me. And it was for ABC television. And I went on the interview, lied my way right through it. They said, what do you know about the studio system? What do you know about cameras and so forth? I said, what would you like to know? And they said, well, have you ever moved one around? Do you know what they're like? Do you know what the people... I just totally lied. Did a little reading, I think, before I went on this interview. So I got the job, studio supervisor, and I was sitting down in my little hovel of an office when Dan Curtis walked in one day and said, who are you? I said, who are you? Let's have lunch, and all that happened. So I always had the acting thing with me. It was always there. And I would read with all the actors that came in, and some of whom I knew very well. Dan really started me. Everything prior to Dan Curtis is a joke. I went to Yale Drama School. I did some off-Broadway theater. I did a couple of independent films, and it was all what all actors do. And then I met this guy with 800 white teeth, a cigarette holder, and a raincoat that looked like it came out of Aquascutum. And he just looked at me and said, "What do you do here?" I said, "I'm a supervisor in the studio." And he just laughed at me, and I hated that. He said, "Supervise? What do you supervise?" I said, "I supervise the workers." "Yeah? Can you take lunch with me?" I said, "Yeah, sure. Where are we going?" Took me upstairs to La Sabret's. Remember, that little hot dog stand? He said, "What do these idiots pay you around here?" That was the only time my Yale Drama School master's degree came in handy. I lied instantly. I doubled my salary. He said, "Well, I'll double that. Give him 2 weeks' notice. I need someone on the inside." So I came in and worked for Dan at that studio and didn't know what the hell I was doing. I just went to his office on the different offices he had. And I kind of followed him around like a lackey, but it was the best education I ever had. You meet a guy like, first of all, there is no one else like Curtis, Dan Curtis. He's an enigma. He is mysterious. He's very, very brilliant. He's tough and sensitive. And he demands everything from everyone. He demands 100% from everyone. And that in itself is an education. So when I connected with someone like that, I thought, the least I'm going to learn is something about this business. I may get fired because I don't know all the answers, but I'll learn something. And he took me on a tutelage for years. That's second to none. And still does even now. He called me from Canada. He's doing that Priest movie up there. I finished doing the Priest movie. He said, "What's it like out there?" I said, "What do you mean, what's it like?" Because I just finished shooting the Pete Rose story. He said, "Is it a nice hotel where you're staying?" I said, "Yeah, you've stayed here, Dan. What are you asking me?" He said, "Just asking if the food's good." He said, "I'm renting my own apartment up there." He just wanted to talk. He wanted to get into the thing, He had no real question. I wanted to be in his movie. That was my question. He said, "I can't do it because of the union requirements." But he's the man. Still is. Look what we're doing. How many years later? It was kind of a wonderful experience. Dan knew what he wanted. He had created this concept of mystery, unlike any other soap opera. And though he didn't create a Dracula, a werewolf, or a Dracula in the beginning, it was mostly about the governess and the mysteries of the house and ghosts that may have lived there. Slowly but surely, in the different writers' conferences with the network, I could see Dan going off on his own. He'd always pull down his front curl, that meant stay away. And they were giving him advice, and let's bring in this character, let's do this, let's do that. And one day he turned around and he said, let's bring in a fucking vampire. And the room went nuts, quiet. And someone from ABC said, are you crazy? He said, yeah, I'm crazy. I want to bring in a vampire. The rest is history. They fought it. They weren't that happy about the idea. They didn't think it would work. But he made it work. And it became the most popular soap opera of its kind ever. And that's how it started. And then it was just fun and games and getting the writers together to write these stories and every conceivable mysterioso thing that happens, and stakes in the heart and teeth in the neck. Working with the greats, the great makeup artist, what's his name, Smith from New York, who came over with a piece of veal to show us what it would look like to bite into a neck. It was great stuff. Bob Cobert writing the music, the actors, exciting. It was all good. There's nothing bad. The set was small. The studio was small. That was the only studio they gave us. And sets had to be moved quickly. And Cy Tomashoff was our director, was our set designer, and he was brilliant. So he designed with that in mind, quick breakaways, how to put a wall up fast, take a staircase down, and yet maintain a look of elegance, which the place was supposed to have. And with the actors running in and out and the cameras not being as small as they are now, with teleprompters on top and traffic patterns getting in the way, it became very, very tiresome and difficult. And by the end of the day, it was exhausting. And my hat was always off to the actors because they had to learn a script every day. I mean, it is truly a font of education for an actor. If you really want to and have an opportunity, do a soap opera. Discipline yourself. Because they would have lines changed 10 minutes before we shot. And they'd have to know them and make them real.